We are officially at the lazy river portion of the offseason. The rumors are just going to take us where they take us. And there are some. We're going to get into that and more right now on the Setup Man Podcast. Welcome into another edition of the Setup Man Podcast. I am Alex Brawl alongside my buddy, co-host extraordinaire, Ty Lewin. And this is the Setup Man Podcast. If you have not already, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, comment below, let us know all the things you're thinking and feeling. And if you're listening on audio, no problems at all. But do us a favor, follow us on wherever platform that you choose to follow us on, and leave a 5-star review. On today's agenda, we are going to go over some rumors, a couple news nuggets that dropped over the last couple of days, including a 2016, really Cubs legend that retired, but we'll get to that in just a second. And then Jed Hoyer spoke today, and in a surprise to no one, it was a whole giant bowl of nothing. But let's start with the bigger news. Kyle Hendricks officially yesterday announced his retirement after 12 seasons in the big leagues, 11 with your Chicago Cubs. Listen to these numbers, Ty. They're crazy. Pitched in 300 games, 1,700 innings, 1,740. Struck out 1,365 batters. He won the 2016 ERA title and is a 2016 World Series champion. From a guy who was a throw-in in the Ryan Dempster trade to Cubs legend and probable first ballot Cubs Hall of Famer. Pretty crazy.
It's a wonderful celebration for a guy that ultimately was such a key part of this entire ball club and throughout those years. And you think back on it and you think, we had Lester, you had Chris Bryant, you had Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, Addison Russell. I mean, just going down the list, there was just name after name, Ben Zobrist, Jake Arrieta, you can go on and on. But Kyle Hendricks, really at the end of the day, was on the biggest stage at the most pivotal times for the Cubs, especially in that 2016 run, right? We talk about in Game 6 of the NLCS against the Dodgers going, 7 1/3 scoreless in Game 6, right? And then ultimately starting Game 7 and going 4 2/3. And for many Cub fans felt as if that he should have gone more throughout that game and everything of that nature, just because of how clutch he was. And really, it's so funny because you look back and on Kyle Hendricks' career, and you would never know when he was at his highest or his lowest. I mean, you talk about just an even-keeled dude, really across the board. I remember looking at all those videos where it's like Kyle Hendricks fired up and he's just walking off the mound and kind of untucking his jersey from his shoulder a little bit. That's pretty much the amount of excitement or attitude or anything that Kyle Hendricks would show. But guess what? Back in the day, during those times, everyone looked at Arrieta, everyone looked at Lester and thought, they're the top guy and they should be on the mound. But Kyle Hendricks was just so clutch and just a well-deserved career and unbelievable memories of looking back on just what that guy meant to this organization. So hats off to him.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. He was one of the more underrated guys. A guy we don't really, Cubs fans talk about, but nationally, it was Lester. It was Arrieta. At the time when they signed him, John Lackey had a great season in St. Louis, was coming to the Cubs off of that great season. And here's just Kyle Hendricks. Oh, he won the ERA title in 2016. I guarantee you most, I would say our level fan, maybe you follow one team, but just casually kind of know the other stuff. They probably couldn't tell you that. And he didn't, I think he finished third that year in Cy Young behind Scherzer and Lester. And yet you kind of said it perfectly. When the biggest moments were happening, if he was on the mound, I felt good, if not great. In fact, obviously Game 7 World Series, that's probably everybody's top Kyle Hendricks Cubs moment. But there was just so many moments outside of that. Game 6 of the NLCS against the Dodgers, which you had mentioned. And even regular season moments. He threw a Maddox against the Cardinals, who the Cardinals have to be just elated that he's finally retired. He was a Cardinal killer for the longest time. But I mean, it just every day you knew what you were going to get from him emotionally, on the mound, on and off the field. By all accounts, great dude. We'll have a Rizzo role for sure. There's no way. And my dad was asking me today when I broke the news to him, well, is he going to retire a Cub? I mean, he retired, but he's a Cub. Is anyone going to remember him as an Angel? Absolutely not. So it really cool career, especially a guy.
Cheers to you, Kyle, Mr. Hendricks. Cheers to you, buddy.
I might have to get back in the lab and do a real fancy Wrigley for Kyle Hendricks now. But yeah, I mean, a guy who no one expected anything of, and turns out, I don't know what the Cubs Hall of Fame rules are, but it is the 10-year anniversary next year. Rizzo's retired. Hendricks is retired. Maybe that's your 2026 Cubs Hall of Fame class. Just saying. Cubs, feel free to take that idea and run with it. In other Cubs news, the Cubs, since the last time we recorded, were awarded the 2025 National League Team Gold Glove, which is awarded to the best defensive team in the National League. I mean, duh. In other news, water wet. And finally, more in the rumor mill, Bruce Levine has put out there that, quote, there is no disconnect between the Cubs and Shota Imanaga. A 2-year deal could be worked out, though details surrounding the qualifying offer are unclear at this point. Not really news. They're kind of still talking. I think we all kind of assume that if they can bring him back for less than $22 million a year, I'm all for it. That's just a little high, and you need a little different look in your rotation, which we've said on this show 6 times already, at least. But Ty, if they do work out a 2-year deal with Imanaga, what's your gut reaction to that?
I would be disappointed.
Really? Okay.
I'm still a little frustrated with the qualifying offer. I get it. I get it takes away any big time contracts that are going to be needed after this season. But, we'll talk about Jed here a little bit later on and what he said. It's just hard for me not to look at this opportunity and look at trying to get a Dylan Cease or a Framber Valdez. I get the money is a question here. I get the parameters of the upcoming CBA are still in effect, but I don't know how easy my stomach would feel. I think Cade Horton and Justin Steele and some of these guys are going to be the horses of that rotation next year. I would just like to add another horse to that and have it be a little bit more of a intimidating rotation that you have to go up against throughout the entire season and hopefully into the playoffs. I just don't see a pitcher that you did not use in the playoff game 5 as somebody that should be offered any more money. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it.
So hypothetically, let's say they work out a 2-year deal. And I'm making these numbers up. I don't want you at home listening or watching to be like, oh, he knows something. I have no sources. No one talks to me. And I hate people, so I don't like talking to a lot of outside people, right? But let's say the Cubs went to Imanaga, 2 years, 36. So $18 million a year. Oh, your eyes just got big. You're not into that?
No, I'm not. He just doesn't have any swing and miss stuff at this point. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe his hamstring injury that he had during the season that maybe came back to hinder him towards the end of the year. Maybe he gets that healed and maybe feels a little bit better next year. But I want some velo, man. I want some stuff. And Shota Imanaga just doesn't provide that for me. And I'm really shifting my mind towards a Cease, a Valdez, or maybe even like a younger arm that didn't have the best second half. Like you talk about like Mackenzie Gordon, some of these arms that didn't look so great in the second half that we were, potentially suitors for at the trade deadline. But I still would rather have them over Imanaga. I'm just stating my clear thoughts there on where I'm stand with him.
So as we record on Tuesday, November 11th, you're just completely out on Shota.
I'm completely out on Shota. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
See, and look, I'm not saying that's a crazy hot take. I am crazy how time works, man. Because if you would have told me this in July, I would have been like, "You're nuts. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But if you can't trust him in October, the goal's October now. We've done the rebuild. We're here. We arrived. We won 92 games. We're here. The rebuild is over. And if you can't trust someone in the postseason, that's really telling. And I don't disagree with you. I want to make that clear. I'm not all the way out. If they bring him back for a reasonable number, now you and I might have different reasonable numbers in mind. Like 18 for me is like, that's kind of the price of doing business. For you, you're like, oh God, I'd rather spend that money elsewhere. And I don't blame you. I do think, well, let's get to our topic du jour because this kind of ties in, but our topic du jour.
It's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Jed Hoyer spoke at the GM meetings today. He said, quote, "We're going to have an active offseason. Take that for what it's worth. The largest focus will be on pitching. I think that's obvious." So given that statement, plus Shota, and they're kind of keeping in touch, I think he's going to be back. Now, what that number is, I think, is going to be telling. But yeah, I'm right there with you. They need different looks in that rotation. Right now, they're all kind of the same. But I mean, end of the day, you and I both want a big name, and they should. Jed Hoyer kind of alluded to in his back and forth with the press. Well, we're going to do some high end. Basically, we're going to kick the tires on the high end guys, and we're going to see what's he supposed to say. Of course, he's going to say that. He's not going to be like, we're going to shop from the middle to lower tier, and hopefully we get lucky with Boyd. Although he did mention Boyd and said they got a lot of value out of him, which the value stuff, man. We're doing this already. It's November. It's the off season.
Let me ask you something about Shota.
Yeah.
If Shota accepted the club option, would you have been angry about that?
So that's what, 1 year, 15 million?
It would have been 57 million over the next 3 years. Would you have been?
Oh, so if you got the 3-year deal, okay. No, because I think that's the price of doing business. And he's a quality pitcher. He eats up innings. Outside of the one hamstring injury, really hasn't. He's been pretty durable. I get what you're saying though. Is like, oh boy, especially on a money conscious, really tight budget. I don't know. I don't think I would hate it.
It's just the idea behind you just talked about it earlier, right? The Cubs they won the NL Gold Glove. It didn't, like, whether they won it or not, they had a fantastic defense, right? And they are keeping really that core of quality defenders across the board, unless they make any upgrade, or it would really be anybody other than that would be considered an upgrade. Besides right field right now, I would say, like, that's still a little bit of a question mark. So it's just hard for me to accept someone on the mound that the home run ball is always in effect. And it's always something you're going to be looking at. And, if you haven't, by the way, folks, if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to Kyle's interview with Boog Shambi, please take the time to do that. I think we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but it was such a quality interview. And one of the things that Boog talked about was the fact of that he does want to see a little bit more swing and miss in the rotation, because even though the Cubs have a really good defense, over time, the more balls that are put in play, the better the chances of errors and mistakes being made by the team. Then also, too, you have a pitcher that's not even allowing the team to make any plays, and they're letting the ball go into the bleachers, right? And with the home run ball that Shota is really, really had issues with. And I just don't see how Shota, with his pitch repertoire and his pitch shape at this point, and these were issues that he had over in Japan, that he starts to minimize those things. Like, it hasn't proven that way yet. It's gotten worse. So that's why it's like, what's going to change? He's been in the Cubs organization the last 2 years. Yeah, Zombro came in this year, but still the issues still pertain. So yes, I get it. He eats innings, and when he's healthy, he does a great job. I just there's something about maybe getting a little bit of a different look. He's not better than Justin Steele. He's not better than Cade Horton. So your 1 and 2 are already solidified. So if you're going to get somebody in there, okay, maybe Shota can be that 3 or 4, but I would say even JMO by the end of that year was better than him as well. So I'm just struggling with the idea of bringing Shota back. I really am.
I, it's hard for me to disagree. I was looking up pitching stats because one of the questions and the main question of the show tonight is where is the bigger need for the Cubs? Is it offense or is it pitching? And I'm looking up these numbers, and the Cubs gave up the 8th most home runs in baseball this year, which partly is Shota. Also, I was kind of surprised to see they were that high because all we've heard is, oh, Wrigley, Pitcher's Park. So did they get that hammered on the road home run wise? Granted, I don't have the splits right in front of me. I could probably look it up in a little bit here, but they give up a lot of home runs. You mentioned it. Boog mentioned it. They need more swing and miss. When
I
Shota,
can read those numbers for you if you want.
if
from
you
the
have those
starting
right now,
pitchers.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is just starting pitchers. So home wise, the leader was Shota at 17. Okay. Then Colin Ray at 14, Matthew Boyd at 11, JMO at 9, Ben Brown at 6, and Cade Horton at 5. And then away from Wrigley Field, Shota had 15, JMO had 15, Ben Brown had 12, Matthew Boyd had 8, Colin Ray had 6, and Cade Horton had 5. Now, obviously, Cade Horton was a little bit less on the innings, and same with Ben Brown, but still, it was real with Shota.
Yeah, and I guess hearing Tyone's road splits, that isn't all that surprising, which is why everyone, when he pitched at Wrigley, that was one of the arguments in that San Diego series, like, oh, we're good. Tyone's awesome at home. So I guess that's not overly surprising to hear. But I guess, yeah, let's get to our main question of the day. Do you think that pitching or offense is the bigger need for this Cubs team headed into 26? Offensively, let's face it. And actually, this brings us to our call to the pen of the day. If you want us to read your comments aloud on air, comment below. Let us know. We will pick a random comment and read it out loud and discuss it live here on air. Today's call to the pen is this guy yelling at us. RWB Team 7468. Ty and I alluded to Tucker probably leaving and being okay with him leaving. And RWB Team 7468 says, saying no to Tucker and letting him walk while he's finally the superstar we've been waiting for years and has a down year and we write him off. This has got to be one of your dumbest takes, guys. You sure about that? Are you sure that it's our dumbest take ever? I've had a couple dumb ones, but also, were you honestly? I get the point. We haven't had a superstar. Finally, bring one in, but it was disappointing. He didn't live up to the bar. I mean, he didn't live up to our expectations. He was awesome through June, July, August, September, October. It's kind of a non-factor, if not invisible. Injuries or not. I don't know. Am I crazy, Ty? Like, I thought, again, a lot of people are like, well, we finally have a superstar. Why wouldn't we pay him? And the thing that, and I have to highlight, the Locked On guys this morning highlighted, it totally lets ownership off the hook and the pressure because fans are like, it wasn't that great. We'll let him walk. And those guys, credit to them, nailed it. Well, this brings the pressure off Ricketts now because he doesn't have to sign him. The fans don't care because they'll let him walk.
Okay, first off, to this guy that commented, thank you for taking the time to comment and listen through and do all that. We appreciate you. I'm actually not joking about that. We understand that on these types of shows we are looking deep into a lot of things, right? And so my reasoning behind saying that Kyle Tucker wasn't necessarily a need moving forward is what Alex just alluded to, where the last 2 years he's dealt with some obviously unforeseen injuries. One where it was a foul ball off his knee in Houston, and then this year was sliding into second base and injuring his hand. It's unfortunate, right? So could he have had a much better season if that injury this year doesn't happen? Maybe he does, right? And yeah, maybe ownership is off the hook. It's just though that, again, like I go back to moments throughout the second half of the season where it ran that long, where it's hard for me to sit there and think that this guy deserves a $400 million contract. Above 300 is probably what he might be getting. And look, yeah, it's an upgrade in right field, but again, I just feel like that money could be used elsewhere. I really do. And um, like I said, I would love to have him back, but it just that money to a player, um, unless they are a true superstar. Again, Kyle will probably prove us wrong this year and have an outstanding year with another ball club.
Oh, book that.
I mean, we talk. I mean, like even in the interview with Boog, I mean, Boog mentioned it. You talked about that the weather side of things here comparatively to like in LA, like it's different. Like he's obviously going to perform probably better there than he would at Wrigley. Like that's all true. It's just hard for me to think that money is deserved. So look, I hope I eat my words, and I hope that he's a Chicago Cub at the same time. But again, it's just I just don't see that money being worthwhile. Again, we might be wrong to everyone that's tuning in, and you may be listening and going, hey, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. There are takes and things that we make that are probably going to be wrong and some that are going to be right. But at the end of the day, we love talking Cubs, and that's why we do this, is because of that. And we know that Cub fans, their fanatics, their passion is truly there, and we appreciate you all listening to this show. That's all.
Well, and it's a good point. We chose that comment, or more specifically, I chose that comment because I do think I'm not calling that person out. I agree with you. We shouldn't be like, oh, let's just let him walk. But I do think, at least for me, Ty, I can't speak for you. We have a responsibility on this show to not throw your expectations like, oh, they're going to get Schwarber. Tucker's coming back. Like, they're not building the Avengers here. They're just not. They have the ability to, but they're not. So what's the point of us making all these arguments when we might as well just scream at the clouds? Because if they probably have a number in mind, probably higher than we're all thinking. Let's even say it's like 275. But why is Kyle Tucker going to take that? Because outside of this year, with a giant sample, he's a top 10 hitter in baseball. Why wouldn't you want that guy? Well, the experience, I don't know what it was behind closed doors. Boog seemed to think that he's just a quiet guy, and the fans probably didn't quite relate to that. Fine. We have a responsibility to not sunshine pump to the degree of they're building the 27 Yankees. They're just not with these budget restraints. And honestly, that brings us into our rumors here too. So pitching or offense, we both kind of agree that it's pitching. We've alluded to that. They need pitching first. Their offensive ranks throughout the season. Now, granted, this is with Kyle Tucker in the mix, but also take 3 months of Kyle Tucker out. They're kind of the same that they were towards the end of the season. But they still ranked 5th in runs scored, 6th in homers, and 13th in average. So it's not like they're working with nothing here offensively. But Bob Nightingale of USA Today did have some rumors, some nuggets that he dropped that were Cubs related. He said, first things first, the Cubs are one of the hot stove's biggest sleeper teams. I'll believe it when I see it. Just saying. They want another corner outfielder. Huh? What? We'll get into that in a second. And certain GMs are predicting that they land one of, if not both, Framber Valdez and or Dylan Cease. Now, this is not the first time Cease's name has come up. Framber Valdez, you and I kind of touched on the show last time. I'm a little more lukewarm on him than I think others are. I get he's a talented dude, but there were some teammate questions. It's just, I don't know. I would not be upset if they don't touch him. The corner outfield thing is interesting. And yes, we have a prop department here. I'm just going to put on my tinfoil hat quick. If they're looking for another corner outfielder, does this mean that they might be open to trading Casey for pitching? That's the only way that makes sense. And if you really want to look at it, the outfield market is woof, to put it lightly. We're talking about, so looking for a corner outfielder, Jesse Winker, Michael Conforto, Tommy Pham, Alex Verdugo, Cody Bellinger. Did they bring him back after dumping his salary? Harrison Bader, Trent Grisham, Kyle Tucker, which we've already discussed, is probably out. Jason Hayward, you bringing him back? 37-year-old Starling Marte. There's just not a lot of options. 40-year-old Andrew McCutchen. So the fact that they are looking for a corner outfielder is strange to me, unless they're trading for one. But Ty, what do you make of these rumors here? There's a lot there, and I'm not sure any of them make sense.
This is why I just wish the Cubs made it as far as they could in the playoffs, so we could avoid these conversations or just like not worry so much about these.
Well, and to be fair, I'm not discrediting Bob Nightingale, but when it comes to the Cubs, he's not batting 1,000. We'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Take these with a grain of salt.
They're just doing their jobs, and they got to post as much stuff as they absolutely
course,
can on what they're hearing. I mean, look, Jed has worked in the dark, and then he works in such a weird way comparatively to unordinary, I guess you want to call it, comparatively to some other big league or big time clubs. So it's a little hard sometimes to gauge where Jed's head is at. And again, I just keep thinking about the CBA and what that's going to look like and how that's really going to change a lot of the things that they do this year. And, I know Jed talked about looking into the pitching market and trying to find, focus on that. I mean, they got to fill an entire bullpen first. So he's answering their question because he needs to fill it out. Yeah. And he needs to find depth on the starting pitching front, unless he wants to put Ben Brown as a starter. So
no, thank you.
No, thank you. I think with the right field thing, the part that is really coming to fruition is what they think of Owen Casey, right? So if they're talking about looking for right field help, it's like, well, what was all this hype around Owen Casey then? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's a solid defender. He's obviously got unreal pop, and he seems like a smart kid. Like when it comes to plate discipline, or not plate discipline, but knowing the game. So it's like, what are we just avoiding that altogether? I get that Kyle Tucker or somebody else maybe be a little bit of an upgrade. I heard Fernando Tatis is somehow available. God knows how that came to fruition. Yeah. So I think where I'm going with this is that I'm okay with right field right now. Like I really am. Like I like the combination. I've started to build up the idea of an Owen Casey and a Seiya Suzuki, and maybe finding somebody that can go off the bench a little bit that can be of help, like an Alcantara or somebody else that can fill that void. Because also too, you got Moises Ballesteros, so there's those combination of everything that you're managing from the DH and the right field front that I think helps. Ian Happ has a no trade clause, and he has a show on Marquee. I don't think he's gone. So. Yeah. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to do anything out there. And I just don't want to see them hindering development with a small upgrade. You know what I mean? Because if you go after, let's say if you bring in Kyle Tucker, it's obviously an upgrade over Owen Casey. I'm not a dumbass. I know that's what that is, right? So that's fine. Then it's like, okay, then Casey obviously is either a full-time bench bat or he's going to learn left field and right field because maybe he can allow Ian Happ to get some days off. But to bring in a small upgrade over a guy like Owen Casey just pisses me off. I mean, bringing in a guy like a Tommy Pham or an Andrew McCutchen or somebody where it's just like, really? Like,
yeah, what's the point?
What's the point? All you're doing is are you trying to make up the numbers that you're going to lose out with Kyle Tucker? Because if that's the case, you could probably do that with Moises Ballesteros and Owen Casey, if we're being truthfully honest. The speed part is like what we talked about is probably going to be gone with the 25 stolen bases that Tucker had. But it's just, I don't know, man, that would really bother me because I don't think it's worthwhile. I think you get somebody to back up Casey, not split time with Casey. That would be ultimately the goal there. Unless he's so bad against lefties, I just don't see the need there. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I think the one thing I've liked in the Craig Counsell era of the Cubs is they're not afraid to let the young kids play. Now, within reason. Alcantara got a few spot starts. Casey, they were pretty upfront with him, it seemed, for a little bit anyway. It's like, hey, yeah, Tucker's hurt, you're going to play, but when he's back, you're out of here. And now they kept him on the bench. I didn't love that. I don't think anyone on the
and also too, let's be honest. When Kyle Tucker came back and we were all like, oh, and Casey needs to play over him, it was like, let's be really honest. Looking back on it, it's like, was that ever going to happen? Were they really going to do that? That's not how big league clubs work. They just don't work that way.
No,
So,
and the only
continue.
reason was Kyle Tucker up to that point had really struggled, and Casey was like the new hot thing, hit an opposite field homer against the Brewers, pretty much carried them to a series victory. Because without
Yeah.
Casey, they don't win that series. So, like, I get that. But I just also think I'm looking at the names of starting pitchers here too. If let's say we deduced like $75 million in free money that they can play with up into the first tax, and we know that they'll probably save 10 for in-season trades if they decide to do any. So let's call it
Absolutely.
65, right? Well, wouldn't you rather spend that even on guys like Nick Martinez, Michael King, guys who aren't going to cost you the sun and the moon, but guys that will be helpful? Merrill Kelly, Zach Eflin, and I'm just cherry picking some of these names. Do you take a flyer on Giolito? He'll probably be a 1-year contract. He wasn't very good, but with the pitch lab, we've seen guys rehab their images and get bigger contracts other places after they're in Chicago. Like Chris Flexen, Marcus Stroman. I don't think the Stroman thing's going to happen again. I don't think but
Please, God, no.
I don't think you're alone with that. I was always a Stroman fan, but even like Walker Buehler's going to be a free agent again. He's got velocity. He's got some swing and miss to his game. Do you try that? And it probably won't be cheap. He got 1 year, $20 million last year from Boston. So I think ultimately pitching is a priority. They've said as much. And offensively, I'm looking at these numbers or these guys that are available. Okay, does Cody Bellinger really do anything for you? Maybe, because he hits lefties. He could play first. He could platoon with Bush because he can hit lefties. He could play right field. That one makes some sense, but are you going to bring him back?
The more and more I think about it, I think they're just going to let Bush run, dude. I think they're just going to let him go.
Well,
I mean, I know we talked about
should.
it last episode. It was tough for them. I think it's going to be really tough for them to do that to Bush again. I think they're just going to let him go. So Bellinger will be fine. It's just that, he's basically full-time outfield at that point or DH. So, yeah.
And you're probably going to have to pay him $20+ million to be a role guy, platoon guy?
Multiple years, too, because there's no way now at this point, unless it's one of those, again, where he has high, the player options that are 33 million or whatever the hell they were last year or what they were.
Well,
I just think ultimately like the Cubs are going to be like, you know what, like we have a lot of guys that are doing really, really well. We can find some little upgrades here and there. They're not going to go after the big wig free agents from the offensive standpoint. We just kind of know that at this point, Alex. I mean, it would be shocking to me. By the way, I'm going to call you AB moving forward. So AB, actually now Antonio Brown had a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, he's reported to.
So back to what we were talking about. It's not. I'm not going to call Alex that. So I'm going to call Alex. Back to you, John. So yeah, it just feels inevitable that they're just going to go after some starting pitching, and I just hope to God it's Dylan Ceaser for Amber Valdez. That's all I'll say.
And I'm all for that. I know there was a report right before we started. I didn't put it in the outline because I didn't think it was all that enlightening. They're going to keep an eye on the Japan market after good successful successes with Suzuki and Imanaga. But
I'm interested. I think we should talk about that on Thursday's show. They'll come out Friday. Is that free agent that Jeff Passan keeps talking about? We'll definitely have to discuss that.
Yeah, there's 3 guys that are considered high-profile Japanese players coming over. We'll see. There's a couple that I don't really understand.
Trevor Bauer.
Too soon?
Oops.
Yeah. Trevor Bauer wasn't very good in Japan either. So
make sure everyone comments below if you're tuning in. Like, seriously, give your honest thoughts. Like, make sure you throw us a like because that's incredibly helpful for our show. Look, we know that at the end of the day, there's going to be certain metrics and certain stats and certain things that you guys all think are the most important. And they're probably very important to the organization. But at the end of the day, this is what we've seen from this organization. And even me talking about them going after a Dylan Ceaser or Framber Valdez and offering a contract past 3 years is still like, I would like that. But
it's pathetic that we even have to. I mean, we're just trying to be realistic. It's pathetic that we have to even. 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, the blackouts. Piss off.
Yeah,
man.
I know, buddy. I know. What else you got?
I think that's all I got for the show. That's going to do it for us. On your way out the door, do us a favor, like, subscribe, comment. Also, give us your honest feedback, man. We want to have a real discussion with you. When we do our call to the pen, we're not just like all pandering. Tell us we're great. Like, if you got an opinion, let it ride, man. We want to talk with you guys about it. So even if you come after us and say we're dumb and we have bad takes, like, let's talk about it. Let's work it out. Why we think the way we do. Let's talk, man. That's the whole point of this. So leave us a comment below. Let us know what you're thinking and feeling as we head into mid-November. Leave us a like, subscribe, Ty.
Well, I was just going to say, when people, you've called me dumb. I've heard worse things from some of the travel ball parents that I used to coach with or coach against. So I do have, I think I have thick skin. And Alex does too. So just let it ride, man. I promise you, we aren't thinking about your comments all the time. I might be, but I promise you, we won't be. We won't be affected by it. I might be, but at the end of the day, we love to hear from you guys. Sometimes I'm kidding. It's a joke. Back to you, Alex.
And with that said, that's going to do it for us. On your way out the door, like, subscribe, comment below. Audio only. Do us a favor. Subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Ty will be back later in the week talking any more rumors that pop up. Maybe we'll talk about the Japan guys. But until then, we'll see you later. Go Cubs.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.